success stories told by the people who lived them.
We're going to have some guests on this show that everybody knows, and we're going to have guests on this show that nobody knows yet.
One by one, Nick Hyder is adding hits to the hit streak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hyder, and joining me in the Hit Lab today, I've got an extra special treat for you, folks. This guy has... he's done a lot of great things in his career, so buckle up, and I wouldn't hold your breath while I read him out because you'd probably run out of air. Folks, this cat right here is a PGA Professional. That's Professional Golfers Association. He has been named the TNPGA two-time Teacher of the Year. He's coached 2 PGA Tour winners, 6 national champions. He's had 3 players reaching number 1 in the NCAA. He coached a local high school here to its first ever state championship. He's helped over 138 junior golfers earn over $11 million in scholarships. Folks, he's also a 3-time best-selling author, the host of 2 top-rated podcasts. He is a former Golf Channel Academy coach and current golf analyst for News Channel 5 right here in Nashville. Folks, welcome to the Hit Streak, Virgil Herring. What's up, baby?
Man, I've not been on this kind of a hit streak in a long time, but it is an honor to be here. Great studio. I'm learning a lot already about how to take my game to the next level. So thank you very much for having me on your podcast, Nick.
Let's go. Well, that was the first hit of the episode right out of the gates, right? So, but that's what you do. You hit things really accurately and really well, right?
I hope to. I can promise you that.
That's right. Well, so you just came out with a big announcement that I didn't read off in when I was letting the folks know who you are. You got a big announcement in the form of a big time opportunity with TEDx Old Hickory, right? Let's tell the folks about that.
So I just found out that I'm going to be one of the speakers for TEDx Old Hickory. And it's set up to how we're going to elevate community. And so my speech is going to be on what does the military and the greatest sports teams do that they bring a cohesiveness together. There's no longer race. There's no longer sex. There's no longer religious beliefs. They come together as one. What do they do that allows them to be so successful? And what can we take from that and put in our community and stop relying on government to pass laws to make us work when we can do it ourselves and elevate the community from the ground up, not from the top down.
So you're talking about giving hand ups, not handouts, is what I'm hearing.
That's right. Because I really believe that if we don't start taking, pride in our own life,
right,
the country's slipping, and because we're waiting for others to do things. And we got to start doing it ourselves.
I agree with that. Well, man, TEDx, that's like, as far as a platform to speak, like that's about as good as it gets, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you make it to a TED on the TED Talks website, the fewest watched one ever is 7.9 million. So to be able to have a chance to deliver a message that could land on that platform, I don't take that lightly. So my job is to go out there in my 18 minutes, I'm going to leave it all on the floor, so to speak, and they're going to have to carry me off because I'm going to give it all I got.
That is what I'm talking about, baby. Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's a big deal and fantastic. So, all right. Dude, golf is the hardest sport in the world. Right, hands down. And if you haven't heard Robin Williams talk about, how when they invented golf, what that must have been like, it's absolutely hysterical.
Yeah,
I don't know how it lived as long as it did before I heard it. Just not that long, not that many years ago, and he did it like 25, 30 years ago or longer when he did the bit. But so where were you at when you figured out that like golf was going to be an actual career opportunity for you?
Well, it's spurred on by 2 things. So I was a pitcher first.
Okay. My
whole life was pitching. My dad was a huge believer that if I could maintain my strength, and I could throw it nearly 90 when I was 14.
That's big back then. Not many guys did that.
So, but I tore my rotator cuff at 15 and I tore it again at 17.
Oh, wow.
Largely overuse.
Yeah.
Right. And then in 1990, they wouldn't do surgery on a teenager on your rotator cuff.
Okay.
So I rehabbed my 15-year-old version of the tear, and I pitched 5 more games at age 17, and I tore it again.
Wow.
And that was the end of baseball for me, because although I was a reasonably good hitter, I only lived to walk on the bump and bring the gas. But when I was gone, there was also a ton of pressure that was put on, because when I started to be recruited, it became like my dad went to the next level of like helping.
Okay.
And it became too much for me. And it wasn't on him. It was just like, it was no longer fun. It became work. And like one of the things that I think is really important as people chase dreams is that when it's no longer fun, burnout is the next thing to come.
That's right.
And I got burnt out because it wasn't about the love of pitching.
Yeah.
It was making sure that I did this, and this, so that this particular person was impressed or knows that I was paying attention to try to be the best that I could be.
Right.
Nobody in my family had ever played golf. So if I came home and said I shot 83, 75, 91, it didn't register as a positive or a negative.
Gotcha.
So it allowed me to have my own personal journey. And I think that I'm a person who fell in love with, I need to figure out my path and not anybody else's path. And when I could be free to fail without judgment, that's how I fell in love with golf. And then the second part of this is that I was going to go to the Culinary Arts School of Pittsburgh, which is one of the best in the country, because I love to eat. So I might as well be a good cook. And
amen to that.
I'm walking down the hallway and my golf coach sees me. He says, "You're not going to believe this. You can major in golf." And I'm like, whatever. So he hands it to me. And the dream school for me was Penn State, because I'm from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Penn State was getting a professional golf management school in 1992, which is the year that I'm graduating. I was going to be in the first class. But I went there and I didn't have the greatest experience. And it was kind of depressing. But I realized that the only reason why I wanted to go to Penn State was for 6 Saturdays a year.
That's right.
Yeah. That was a really humbling experience to me. So there were 3 other schools that had professional golf management, and one of them was Mississippi State.
Okay.
So we decided over the President's Day holiday in 1992.
Great baseball program too.
Yeah, absolutely. We drove from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to Starkville, Mississippi. And I left, it was -3, and I got down and it was 81, and I'm like, I am home. And there was a hot blonde. It was like, "Y'all the Herrings?" I'm like, absolutely, even if I'm not. Yes, I am. And I fell in love with Mississippi State. And we had a great baseball program. We went to 3 bowl games, 3 College World Series, 1 Final Four, and the golf team won 3 SEC championships in a row while I was there. So we had great sports, and it was a great environment for what I needed. So that's how I ended up at Mississippi State, and that's how I got into golf. And I knew if you go into that golf management piece, you become a professional, so you can't play college sports. And if you were good enough to be in the golf management program and you were good enough to play on the golf team, and you chose to not do things that could make you money in golf. And I just was not in a financial situation where I could turn down the opportunity to make money teaching golf,
right?
Doing clinics for kids or whatever, because that's where you start. It's kind of like beginner clinics, junior golf camps. And that's when I realized, like, wait a second, if I'm not quite good enough to make it on TV, the second best way to make a living at the game of golf is to be able to coach it. And my dad was my coach in every sport that I played. My dad was my idol. So when it got to the point where I recognized that I was good, but not good enough, and I realized it because people would always be like, "Why are you paying attention to your competitor's golf swing and talking with them and encouraging them, and you're not a very good self-talker. You beat yourself up, but you elevate others. What's wrong with you?" Right? And I was like, "You must be a coach. You have a coach's mindset. You're not selfish enough, because you're much more concerned about how somebody else is doing than yourself." And I'm like, So then I went down a path following some of the greatest teachers in the world. Bill Strasbaugh was my mentor, and Jim McLean, who's probably on the Mount Rushmore of golf teachers, became my, another mentor of mine. And it sent me off in a direction. And then a lot of beautiful things occurred, much like in the book that Malcolm Gladwell wrote. He said, Outliers, that sometimes you're at the right place at the right time. I graduate May 15th, 1997, which is exactly 1 month after Tiger Woods wins the Masters in 97 and sends junior golf into massive hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a place here in Franklin, Tennessee that was a junior golf mecca. It's called Through the Green. It's no longer there, but it was at the time. They didn't have enough teachers. I'm there. I pick up a ton of great players, and those ton of great players then brought me the person that really took my career to the next level, which was Brant Snedeker.
Gotcha.
So, and when all of those things occurred, if I'd have graduated 2 years later, all the teaching jobs were already getting full. But in 97, there weren't that many people capable of coaching at that level to help kids get to chase the dream.
Wow.
Right place at the right time in life, and a strong desire to be the greatest that I could be.
So it was the coaching opportunity that brought you to Nashville then.
That's right.
Gotcha. And tell me a little bit, I want to ask you about, talk to you about your relationship with your dad. Like, my dad was my coach my entire life as well. We're a little old school. And if you were with me and my son yesterday when we were doing some work and stuff, I hear back when I watch the videos, watching my son hit, I can hear myself talking off camera when I'm throwing to him or whatever. It's intense. It's intense. It's old school.
Yeah.
And, but it creates a toughness that I feel is, there's good and bad to everything, but there's a toughness that everybody has to have to get to that last level, to get to that final spot, like, at the highest level, whatever it is you do. How was your dad like with you?
Well, it's one of the greatest gifts that you can have, to have somebody in your life that can't wait to get home from work, to change his clothes, put on his mitt, and go and be your catcher, and never stop encouraging me to be the best that I can be. And even when I was off, especially when I was young, he would be, you still got it. You're the man. You can do it. Just because you walk that guy doesn't mean it's the end of the inning. Get back in there, focus on what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And
he got me thinking, because I could throw pretty hard, but he's like, as soon as you get around enough talent, they're going to sit on your fastball if all you're going to do is throw it down the middle. So he'd always give me, let's move it around the plate, and I wasn't as good at it as I wanted to be, and I get angry. Mm-hmm. And he was really good at trying to corral the wild horse in me, because I couldn't stand not being awesome immediately. And the nonstop encouragement was something that I put into how I coach today. And, I got two sons, and they're both very good golfers. And I'm trying that balance of the right amount of toughness that's required, because when you play this sport of golf, the only person on your team out there is you.
That's right.
When you're on the baseball field, you got 8 other guys plus a bench full of guys, and you got 4 or 5 coaches.
Yeah.
Golf, it's just you out there, and if you're lucky enough to be on TV, you got a caddy too. And not every one of those relationships are great either. Right. So you're right. The toughness piece is one of the final ingredients to ultimate greatness. Mm-hmm. Because, as you well know, adversity is the mother of all pain, and the ability to persevere and be resilient through it is what separates the best from the almost.
That's a big one right there.
And I think that people don't understand that you rise to certain levels, and I would think it starts at college. If you are good enough to play at a college level, almost everybody has the same level of talent, and that's why they say it almost all becomes mental, because the talent becomes a given.
Dude, I want to stay right there for a second. And as a player myself, like I don't, very rarely did I do something great by accident.
Yeah.
Okay. It was because that was what the intent was. And like last year, my son, a 12-year-old baseball player, first half of the season was awful. One of the worst offensive performances in over a body of time that I'd seen in a minute. And then, but when we had our toughest part of the schedule towards the end of the year, he was our second best hitter in any metric that you measured. He's the same person, literally, like you can just go back and there was a clear cut, like a line in the sand. And the only difference is what he believed. His belief, his mindset. We like that's talked about a lot. I just don't think people understand that, like, you know, talent only takes you so far. Mm-hmm. And then, but the difference between like those elite college players versus the professionals, or in the minor league level, even in the lower minor league levels of baseball to the big leagues, like it's just, there's a belief within those people. Like most of the reasons that I only got as far as I did is, one, I didn't set a clear enough goal on. I just said I wanted to play pro ball. I didn't say I wanted to play major leagues, right? So I didn't have a clear cut. I just typed in the GPS a city. I didn't give it an address.
Yeah.
Right. But then, like, a lot of the limits that I was up against, like, they weren't real. I decided that I had those limits for whatever reason, mm-hmm. and they were real until they weren't, until I changed my belief. Right. So, like, talk to me about that, because you probably see that a lot in players that have all kinds of talent and tools, but what between their ears ain't what it needs to be.
Yeah. So I view it in, like, for your 12-year-old son at the time, right? I believe that it's, you hope that you can do it, then you believe that you can do it, and then you know you can do it.
Hope, right? Believe, know. I love that.
So right now at 12, there's no way that he can know, right? Yep. So you're trying to instill in him the highest level of belief until he knows. And to me, the difference is Michael Jordan, Kobe, they have Derek Jeter,
yeah,
you know, whoever you want to talk about at the highest level, they know. They don't believe.
Oh yeah,
they know. And to me, my job is to take somebody who believes in themselves and elevate them to know. And how do you get there? Well, what goes on inside the mind comes through in the muscles. Your ability to access your talent is completely related to how well you control your prefrontal cortex under duress, because the body wants to keep you safe.
That's right.
The control panel is the prefrontal cortex, but your ability to not worry about whether you are safe or not, because you know you are, allows you to stop controlling and be. And that is the trick in all endeavors, is that my job is to create speed and efficiency to a point where you no longer wonder if you have it. And my job is to then coach you out of your mind into high level zone to flow state. Now, golf is hard to get into flow state because there's only 2 of the 17 elements that can get you into flow state that occur in golf, unlike mountain biking or surfing, where all 17 are there because they're life threatening. If you're not locked in, you're dead. You know, golf, there's not many, right? So it's harder to get into that deep level, but that's why you see the greatest performances in the greatest events, because the arena is one of the things that can throw you into flow state. So Tiger at his greatest, we've never seen anything like that.
That's right.
We're like, this guy he made golf boring because he was so much better at everything than anybody was, that he would win by 12 and it would be over by Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
But you still were compelled to watch because you could not believe what you were seeing.
That's right.
And the level of know that he had was partially trained into him physically. And then what most people don't know when studying Tiger Woods is that Earl, his dad, was an Army Ranger. The military uses a hypnotherapist to train people through trauma and to prepare them for trauma. He used Dr. Jay Brunza, who was the military's top hypnotherapist, to train him into hypnosis or high-level flow state. And he had triggers underneath his hat that what do you do every tournament that can cheat you into this hack into the zone? Well, what happens on the first tee? From Windermere, Florida, Tiger Woods, he takes off his hat and his code word is underneath his hat. Thank you. Looks at it, puts his hat on. He's in the office. And my job is to teach people how to access that level of free flowing talent that you already have.
It's like a light switch you got to turn on.
It is. And most people can get to the physical, but because the dream is so prevalent in their mind and the fear of failing, it gets the wrong part of the brain engaged. So that's why you have to move past believe into know.
That is powerful. So I have a golf story, and I'm going to tell you, I am not a great golfer. I'm better than most, but I'm definitely not great. I played golf. That was my second sport in high school. And I went from a below average golfer, but I was golfing every day, and I had instruction, I had coaches, and I was an average high school golfer, and then into college I kept playing, and I got pretty good. And then I got into professional baseball and stopped golfing. So then I would only golf in our little family golf tournament that we have every year, a couple of charity fundraisers, and I got really bad. And it was because it was almost like I knew I wasn't practicing, so I can't be any good. It was almost like a pre-programmed, I'd almost made that decision that was the thing. And I remember it was here in Nashville at McCabe on number 9. And I was out there playing, and I had a terrible round, and I just got so pissed at myself that I was just like, how hard is it to just hit it right there? And lo and behold, I hit it right there. And from then on out, I just make a decision, no matter how little I play golf, that I can just do it. And I don't go down. I'm pretty consistent with what I can do. And if I decided that I could be even better than I am, I probably would. But I just decided there was a certain level that I expect to play at. And it was just one swing. It was terrible. And I dropped another ball, right? Sorry, that's against the rules, but I did it. Mm-hmm. And just to prove to myself that I could. I hit it like 3 feet from the pin, and then the rest of the round I was lights out. And then now on, so that's a thing. My first time back, even if I haven't played in a year, 9, 10 months or whatever, I go back to that spot in that fairway when I'm approaching the green, and I'm like, I can do this. I just hit it right there. And I usually go out and have a pretty good round. Yeah. It's amazing. Like that, I've learned to use that hack in business, in coaching, parenting, and all these other things as well. I just decided that I can.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite stories to tell of a tour player that I coached, Ned Michaels. I called him the Don't King because just don't hit it here. Just don't hit it there. Don't do this. Just don't do that. He played in fear. So he just barely makes the cut, and he's in next to last place going into the final round of a Hooters Tour event. Okay. He calls me and said, Ned, I want you to do me a favor. Tomorrow when you get on the first tee, say, all right, just don't hit it right down the middle of the fairway. And then when you get up to your second shot, just say, no matter what happens, don't hit it close to the hole. And then when you hit it close to the hole, don't hit it in the middle of the cup. So he plays that way for 17 holes, and he is 13 under par.
Wow.
Through 17. He's going to shoot 59. He's 12 under par through 17. He's going to play an easy par 5 last hole. He walks onto the 18th tee, and the marshal there is like, congratulations, son. You've gone from worst to first. Congratulations. This is unbelievable. Keep going. Water on both sides of the fairway. And he says to himself, just don't hit it in the water.
Yeah.
And he hits in the water, makes a bogey, and shoots 61, finishes 5th. And he calls me, and he's like, I'm so angry because I did the reverse positive psychology for 17 holes. I found out that I was leading, and as soon as I found out, I reverted back. So there's that, to be able to fill your brain with what exactly you want, and the more precise you give yourself direction, it's like a computer, really.
Yeah.
The more precise the destination you give your brain, the more likely you are to get there. So I just told him to be as colorful as he wanted to be, and just use don't in front of it.
I believe race car drivers, pilots, and skiers are all taught, like, focus on the path, not the obstacles. Because if a skier is looking for the trees to not hit them, that's what they're going to hit. The race car driver says your car is going to go where your eyes go. So if you look at the wall, you're going into the wall. It's amazing how, like, as a baseball coach, I was always, I caught myself telling my own son, don't swing at a ball over your head, instead of just saying swing at balls, below your neck or down in the zone. When you tell somebody what not to do, that's usually what they're going to end up doing, isn't it?
That's right.
It's amazing.
I mean, to me, the physical, learning how to swing the golf club or learning how to do anything, it's what a lot of people find sexy. But where the gold is once you have the talent to learn how to access it through the mind, that's where the gold is. And that's my favorite part of coaching. And so I just had a girl who I've been coaching since she was in 6th grade. She's not really won a big event. She's come close, but she talks herself out of it. And we had a playing lesson on Wednesday where I demanded of her a higher level of self-talk. And she was uncomfortable being that confident with other people around. Well, she called me on Saturday. She was nervous, and it's a big tournament because it qualifies her. Not only was it its own tournament, but if she wins, she qualifies for the Junior Worlds. And I just said, I'm just asking you, could you please, for 2 days, try your best to commit to the most precise desire that you want. Sunday, I'm coming home. I get a phone call. I won.
Wow.
And I came from 2 back to win by 1. And I hit every shot with 100% commitment. And I was okay if it didn't work out. And I tell people, this is Dr. Rotella. If you follow the process to greatness, I promise you, you will have greatness. The only sad part is I can't tell you when.
That's right. That's big.
Follow the process and let it happen. So she followed the process and was afraid to follow it for years. And she gave up control. And she ended up getting exactly what she was trying to control in the first place.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you find working with my son, it's funny in music and the arts, rehearsals versus show or concert or whatever it is, there's no like breakdown, there's no gap between the two. He's able to take what he does in practice and translate it onto a show. It's better in the show. It's almost like he takes the energy of the crowd and everything else plus the practice, and it just elevates. I struggled. You hear about guys being great range guys but terrible on the match, or great guys in batting practice but not in the game. I struggle with that a little bit as a player for a while, and that's something that my son's working on. He's unbelievable in batting practice, but there's a belief issue in the game once you're facing an opponent, right? And I'm always telling him, I'm like, dude, you have one opponent. That's the guy out there trying to get you out. But the problem is right now, sometimes you have two, him and you, that you're up against, right? And and then if you're not playing with your teammates, now you've got 3 opponents. Now you're playing against your teammates too, right? So what are some of the hacks that you use to get those players that are great on the range, but it's not translating into the performance on the match just yet? Because you got to learn to play the game. It's a game.
Absolutely. And here's the key, right? You gave it away earlier in the podcast that your son started off the year slow, but when the games got more difficult, the teams that they were playing were better. He rose to the occasion, became the second best hitter on the team in every category, right? So what that's clearly showing to me is that he has a hard time getting his peak arousal levels up early. It's not difficult for him to be ready in the 9th inning. It's not difficult for him to be ready against a team that they're maybe not supposed to beat, or maybe it's the best team in the league. There's only 2 sides to this. You either are choking, and choking is when you're in a situation that is more than 20% past your current talent level.
Gotcha.
Where most people struggle is that they can't get up enough early to be hyper-focused and be in the moment when it's the first inning,
right,
the first tee shot of the first day.
That's right.
So how do you access that? I believe comes from radically vivid imagination and visualization of what you are actually wanting to occur.
Oh, I love that.
Because here's the key. Neuroscience has proven that a vividly imagined event and the real event happening register exactly the same in the mind. Because if it took experience to win, nobody would have ever won.
Amen.
The first winner had the most vivid imagination of what he wanted to occur before it happened, and then he rode that hit streak all the way to the end.
Well, that gets a hit for the hit streak, right?
Yeah. and to me, like, that's the hardest part, is to get people to believe that they've already won, even though they haven't.
I think, was it Wayne Gretzky that said, you win the game before you ever walk out before you ever take the field or step out on the ice, right? So what about the guys that are choking, that maybe it's not 20% above their talent, it's just they don't believe it yet, right? So the talent's there, but the mindset's just not.
Well, there's interference, right? Okay. There's mental interference. Something is more important: the fear of losing, the fear of criticism, maybe there's a level of abuse that if they don't perform, if they embarrass somebody because they didn't do something, there's usually outside interference that's causing that level of choking.
And it's usually apparent if it's a young person,
Unfortunately, yes.
I can tell you, I was expected to be good at baseball, and then so was my son. And my son was a late bloomer in certain things, and it was almost like me always being the coach and him being, the player. It was almost like I didn't feel this way exactly, but it was almost like it was a reflection of me if he wasn't playing that great. And it took me a while to really understand that it has nothing to do. It's not about me. It's his turn. Yep. And I would always say that, but I would still push him in a way that maybe wasn't the best. It wasn't the best way. I know it wasn't the best way because of just like there was just expectations that weren't being met, but they were my expectations, not his, right? And I know that that's part of like some of the reasons that maybe he didn't develop even further, faster, were back to get to where he is now. Like maybe it's because he was so worried about what I thought rather than just why he's playing the game in the first place. Yeah,
well, there's built-in pressure when your dad played professional sports.
Sure,
right? So that's a given. Now, the job is, like, this is how I go about it. I say, Lucas, Cameron, my two sons, I'm like, I want you to play like a champion today. And what that means is, what do you believe Tiger felt like when he was the greatest golfer that's ever walked the planet?
That's really strong.
The only chance you have of being great is to think like a champion. That doesn't guarantee that you'll win.
That's right.
But it gives you the highest chance of optimum success. So go play like a champion. And it doesn't make a difference what I think a champion is. What do you think Tiger Woods thinks like? When he hits a bad shot, does he say, that's unlike me? I'm going to try to do this better next time. Or does he get angry, slam his club, go on a cussing tirade? Champions don't do that.
That's right.
Champions kind of like that's not what I visualized. What did I feel there? Oh, I didn't turn left fast enough. So the next swing, I'll make a couple of practice swings to build that back in. Next one's good. You got to think like a champion. And thinking like a champion is hard because that means not only are you thinking probably like nobody else is thinking on the field, or very few people are, but you also get worried about what other people think of you thinking like a champion. And it's the interference. Like that's interference. Like when you have a mindset of greatness, not many people do. And I'm here to tell you, on your way to the top, there are way more people with your feet on your head than there are hands that are lifting you up. And the resilience to move past what other people think, to think like a champion, is what really takes it to the last level. Because there are way more feet on your head on the way up than there are people reaching down to lift you up.
Man. Virgil, I could talk to you about this for absolute hours. I can promise that your TEDx 18 minutes is going to be absolute dynamite. Lightning's going to strike. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Folks, we're hanging with the man, Virgil Herring himself, right here on the Hitstreak today. VirgilHerring.com is his website. You can check out all that he's got going on there. And on Instagram, it's Virgil.Herring. And so I want to kind of go into I plan on, after my son's baseball season's over and we get a whole lot of time back, this is the year, I say it every year, that I'm going to go in and get fitted for some clubs, and I'm going to come hang out with you, and we're going to, I'm going to get some coaching, some golf coaching. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it because that's the next step for me in my game. And I know that if I make that investment in it, I'll play more. And that's something that I actually want to do. I actually want to make more time to play more. So you have you got a pretty full roster with your instruction and stuff, right? So let's tell the folks a little bit about what you got going on with that.
So I've had a variety of situations. I've coached at the top private clubs in town. I've taught at the big resort, Gaylord Operating Resort. I've taught at the number 1 public course, Hermitage Golf Course. So I've been everywhere. I was with Ensworth when they built the Mac Daddy of all indoor facilities, 3 TrackMan indoor short game area. So I've tried to be on the cutting edge of where things are going. Well, when you're paying $50,000, $60,000 rent to teach at a facility, and you realize that the technology out there today does not require me to have a driving range or turf or even a golf course, I'm like, wait a second. I could put a TrackMan in my home, and instead of paying rent to somebody else, I could put it into my own business and my own home. Why am I not doing this?
Right.
So
it's cool. I've seen it.
I have a TrackMan simulator in my home, and I teach there. Now I can do way better playing lessons on a simulator than I can on a real golf course. Now, it doesn't mean that it's more effective, because there's nothing like playing with different lies, wind blowing for real 20 miles per hour instead of it being in the simulator. You can't feel it, but we can make 20 miles per hour show up. All of those things are real. Simulator golf is the closest thing while being taught that there's the real. Except it goes way faster. We don't lose any golf balls. And if you want to hit another one, I just hit mulligan and we go right back to the same shot. And I have all the data shows up on the left side of the screen.
That's the coolest part.
Yeah. So like what happens, this is what happens. Like people come to me and they get on the video analysis part and they're swinging at it perfectly. And like, I always hit it good here in front of you, but I don't ever hit it like this on the golf course.
Right.
So like, okay, exit out of that, and I take them to Pebble Beach. Boom, here we are. First tee, Pebble Beach. And all of a sudden their swing changes. Why? Because there was an outcome pain that if they didn't perform, there was going to be a penalty stroke or that was going to cost them something. Where when they're in the video analysis, if it's not a good shot, they just rake another one over and hit another one.
Right.
So there's no cost to a bad swing when you're getting to the shot.
Right.
Well, the playing lesson piece is critical to me because everybody can get to the point where they hit it good enough, I believe. But when you only get one shot and you got to pull it off right now, that's where the mindset and how much you know versus believe versus hope. And to me, when you come to see me, most people think that I'm very technical, but I'm actually not technical at all. I'm concept driven, and I use neurolinguistic programming to sneak inside the back door. I trip off the prefrontal cortex and I get you in the zone, and then I teach you how to access that yourself in time. That's the key. The key is that once I have you technically sound, what does technically sound mean? That you have a level of predictability of how far it's going to go and how far it's going to curve. That's all that's required to play great golf. If you know that your 7-iron is going to go 158 or 188 and it's going to curve from left to right about 15 feet, you can tear apart a golf course. So it's all about course management, in which most people have course manglement. They mangle it because they take too much of a hero mindset, or they don't know what to think and they hit shots not committed. Right. So my job is to teach the technique that allows predictability of curve and distance at the highest speed that they can control. Learn how to manage the golf course like you're playing chess, so that you give the highest level of chance to give yourself the most amount of pars, because you can't shoot over par if you don't make a bogey.
That's right. That is right.
Allow the game to come to you. Like I want to be like a boa constrictor. I want you to think I'm hugging you when I'm really killing you. Right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I want to be a boa. Like, oh, Virgil's hugging me.
Yep.
He's squeezing me to death.
Yep.
And you do that by tactically tearing apart a golf course with angles, yardage and trajectory control, and the know-how that if you're going to hit bad shots. So this is the hardest game in the world, and we started with that.
That's right.
Because it's really the only sport played in the elements where like target is essential.
Yes.
Because baseball, if you rip one down the third base line, that's a double. In golf, that's out of bounds.
Yep.
So there's a level of precision required.
Absolutely.
In golf that is not in many sports. Even tennis is wider than golf as it pertains to what's a good shot.
Yep.
Right? So those things play into it. And my job is to build up the level of confidence that if things aren't going to plan, your short game is there to pick you up. And because you are masterminding how to leave the ball, you put yourself in a better place to make an easier chip in a one putt. So you think about, everybody wants to drive the golf ball one. It's probably the most important club in your bag. But once you have the technique, I'm teaching you how to win from the hole backward. Because if you feel like you can make every putt inside of 5 feet, that means your chip shot blanket's 10 feet radius. 10 feet wide. It's like a 10-foot blanket. If you can find yourself in a position where you can hit every chip shot in a 10-foot blanket, well, now when you're in the middle of the fairway, you don't really care about where it goes because you know there's no place you're going to hit it that you can't hit your next shot within the 10-foot blanket.
That's right.
Because I don't miss from 5 feet.
That's right.
And you get on the tee box, you're like, there's nowhere I can hit it off the tee, really, that I can't hit my next shot somewhere that I can't hit my next shot in the 10-foot blanket. And you tear apart the golf course by dominating a certain area, like what I call the 5-foot circle or the 10-foot hole.
Right.
So that no matter how good you're playing, you just make pars. So on a bad day, you shoot around even par, and on your good day, you can scorch it.
Man, there's the running joke when, especially in our family tournament, the winner didn't get their money's worth. The guy that came in last did because he got the most shots out there. It's some really fascinating stuff that you're talking about here because, like, first of all, I want to go back to we do this a lot of times in baseball when a team's taking batting practice. It's pitch after pitch after pitch, swing after swing after swing. And one of the things that really helped me a lot was in college we started doing what was called a rapid fire round, where we were hitting in groups of 3 or 4, but you only get one swing, and then you go to the next guy, and that was so powerful because, like, a lot of times in the game, the best pitch might be the first one that you get, and you got to be ready for it, and you can't miss it. You got to demolish it when it comes in there. And but if you're constantly practicing, I got another one coming right behind it. I got another one coming right behind it. So we love doing that. Even with my son's team, it's helped them a ton. I tell them all the time, guys, we're going to be the best first pitch hitting team in Tennessee. That's our goal, right? Because, like, the first pitch, that's usually they're trying to get ahead, fastball, strike one, right down the middle.
That's right.
And you don't want to miss it. And golf's that way too. Like, you don't get to, like, all of us amateurs will play some mulligans and stuff and have some fun. But, like, if you really want to go out and score, you do it playing straight up, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
And so, like, when you stand over that ball, like, you don't get to say, it felt bad, let me do it again. You got to have it dialed in when you step up to it.
That's right. And analytics play a huge role in this, right? So if you're, and I love baseball, and I'm super high tuned into baseball as well. So you sit there thinking, like, you're the coach. You're like, listen, guys, the pitcher's job is to get ahead. The most likely pitch that we're going to face that's coming down Broadway is the first one, right? Now, let's keep in mind, if you see this guy's now walk 2 batters in a row, we're going to make him earn it.
Sure.
We're not going to go chasing something.
Sure.
But generally speaking, we're going to train you to be ready to jump on the first pitch.
That's right.
Because you have to build that in, because most people want to be patient.
Yeah.
And it's easier to be patient in Little League because there aren't that many great pitchers.
That's right.
You get to high school, the ace is probably pretty good, and maybe at some schools there are 2 guys pretty good.
Yep.
You get to college, you get to elite college, or you go to, like, Texas, Mississippi State, Auburn, wherever you talk, there are 4 guys bringing it, right? So now it's like there's a whole level as it elevates. Some people can throw a curveball just as good as they can throw the fastball. So the pitcher's thinking, okay, this guy's thinking I'm bringing the heat here because he's going to be. I can see Mississippi State's jumping on that first pitch.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw a slider because it's going to look like a fastball and that's going to fall off the table. So there's a level of adaptability. Like, all game plans sound good until they get punched in the face.
That's right.
Right. So it's like the analytics of being, and that's why I love the mental part, is when you're coaching these kids, like, okay, this guy is recognizing that you guys are jumping on the fastball. This time we come up.
Yeah.
Watch, if you see the first batter get a slider or a curveball, he's now trying to change the mo a little bit. So let's be patient. Let's make him earn
That's right.
this. Because now if he gets behind 2-0, now you know what you're going to get.
That's right.
So there's the strategy and the analytics play into the confidence, because the more people know about what's going to happen, the more they know.
That's right.
They go from believe to know. And that's the cool stuff about understanding the stats.
I love that, believe to know. And, it all that translates into business, because when you get the opportunity, like you can't do the keynote, the TEDx, and then be like, hey, can I do that again?
That's right.
Let me get another one. Like, you got to be dialed in. So like, as a golfer, you mentioned it before, you're hitting this shot with the next shot in mind. Like, where do you need this one to go to have the approach you want when you're coming in? As a hitter, that guy's going to throw pitches before you get up there, even if it's warming up to start the inning. So like, you can take that time in the on deck circle to get in time, to get your rhythm, and that way you're ready to jump on that first, and you don't have to get in there and see it. That's why most people take the first pitches. They want to see it.
Yeah.
Well, what have you been watching like until you got up there, right? You should have been watching and seeing it before you stepped in the box, just like the visualization process. So like, these are the same hacks that you use in business.
100%.
Right. So on that note, let's shift a little bit to the business, because you're quite the businessman, as they say, right? So first of all, you're the host of 2 podcasts. I'm the host of one, and I can tell you it's a job.
Yep.
It's a lot of work. And you have a partnership with somebody that we love around here, that's a previous guest, and the one and only Drew Maddox.
Yes.
Right. So tell me how working with Drew, your partnership with him has been helpful to your career, and then let's talk about those 2 podcasts.
So Drew Maddox is one of the greatest human beings I know. He's one of my closest friends, and
I agree.
He lives a life of intention that is pretty spectacular. And everything that he does has a level of attention and intention it's very effective. Like, you can feel it. And he means so much to me, because he's picked me up in my life. I've had a couple of bad breaks. Life's full of curveballs. You just got to foul them off.
That's right.
Right. He's helped me foul off a bunch of curveballs with his belief in me and his faith in that. He knows that I just got to keep stay in the race.
I love it.
Stay in the race. So I met him.
Is he a good golfer, by the way?
He is.
I've never seen him play.
I would have never guessed. I've not seen many great basketball players be good golfers. So he said he wasn't a very good golfer, and I gave him a lesson. And like, the first swing he made, I'm like, oh my dude.
I'm surprised you had a club long enough for him.
Hey man, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I used to be able to shoot in the 70s. I'm like, yeah, really good. So I met him at a Christmas party 5 years ago. I almost didn't go to the party. I show up an hour and a half late. The only seat left at the table is beside this really tall guy. So I plop down. How you doing? I'm Virgil Herring. He goes, I'm Drew Maddox. I'm like, 3-point shooting Drew Maddox? He goes, yep, that's me. He goes, man, I booed you off the court in 1995. He goes, well, I went to Mississippi State. We blasted you guys out of the building. He goes, oh, I remember that game.
Yeah.
And literally, I went to that party with some of my largest clients, and I didn't speak to any of them. I sat down, introduced myself, and I talked with Drew the whole time.
That's cool.
So he said, I've always wanted to write a book. I said, well, I've already written one. Why don't we write one together? Why would you want to write one with me? I said, well, I've already written one by myself. It was pretty boring.
Yeah.
Why don't we do something, collaborate? And that's how we got started in the books. Well, that led to me with my main podcast at the time. It's called On The Virg. And it's a long form interview where it's kind of like Rogan. Rogan's my inspiration to long form interviews. So I had him on, I think it was my 7th episode.
Yeah.
And he goes, man, this was really fun. And I said, why don't we do a podcast based on our book?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he's like, let's do it. So Elevated became the podcast. And now it's nationally syndicated on Cumulus, and it's been awesome. And we're almost finished our 2nd book, which was Excavated. And we don't know what we're going to do after Excavated, because now when we started, he was the basketball coach at CPA and I was the golf coach at Ensworth. Well, he's now doing much bigger things.
Yes. And
I have 2 podcasts, 3 books, public speaking, and I'm teaching a bunch of golf. We have to make sure that it's worth our time right now. So we're trying to deliberate what we're going to do with it. But at the end of the day, the level of inspiration that he brings, and hopefully we together bring to the podcast based on words what does this word mean to you? We tell it from the story of either the player, the coach, or the spectator.
Okay. And
that's where the book originally, Elevated was just 50 words that elevate people. And then we told the story about what that word means to us. And then Excavated is a bigger, coming out of the pandemic, people were really down.
Yeah.
So we used words that were like really had to dig down.
Gotcha.
To lift people up. And the stories were heavier, the words were meatier, and the book was better. So Drew and I have built a friendship and a platform that we would love to take on a much bigger level. But cracking that corporate code as a corporate coach is a pretty unique dance.
That's right.
And if we get that, that'd be a dream, because I love being with that guy.
Man,
he is truly one of the best people in the world. And Ashley Furniture, or the Fresney group, I mean, it's just they're so fortunate.
I agree.
To have somebody like Drew to be able to help that company go in the direction they're going.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And remind the folks the titles of all three of your books for me.
So the first book was the Golf Journal.
Yep.
And the Golf Journal is a statistical book that has like tips on it.
Yep.
And you keep your statistics for your round, every round. So it's like you get a tip, and then there's 3 rounds of golf. That's
a great life lesson, by the way.
Yeah, journal it, right? So it's the journal. So like what you find, it's very detailed. And when you go back over your book and you have like 50 rounds in the book, there's going to be 5 rounds that stand out that were really, really good.
Right.
And in those 5 rounds, you're going to see radical similarities.
Yep.
And then you're going to look at your 5 worst rounds, and you're going to see radical similarities. And it shows up, what do I got to do to be a better player? So within the book, there's like 50 tips. Some are analytics, some are technical, some are concepts. And within it, my book becomes your book. And that's how I've written every one of my books. Like when we wrote Elevated and Excavated, it was like perseverance. Drew writes about perseverance. Virgil writes about perseverance, and then there's an empty page for you to write about perseverance.
That's cool.
And what does it mean to you?
Right.
So that the book becomes yours. That's just my concept. So Drew I like that. So Drew went with it with me. So the Golf Journal was, I'm going to show you what the best players do, and then you're going to show yourself what you do when you're great, and you're going to build the mountain on that.
That's exactly how I built businesses. All great businesses. It was really, when you start looking at all the people that you aspire to be or look up to, the first thing that like stood out to me was all the things they had in common. Right. And I was like, well, if I don't have those things in common, that's probably not going to work. I'm not the exception to the rule.
That's right.
And then you can do the same thing. Like we tell all of our guys, we call them powerless. It's just time blocking is all it is. And it's just like, your time is your most valuable asset that you have in this life. You don't know how much you got left either. So it's very, very, like, you don't want to waste it. You don't want to waste it. You want to invest it very wisely. Yeah. And the hardest thing to do is recreate something you did great. And if you don't document it, know how it felt and all those things, it's hard to do that again. Right. So we're always telling our guys to make sure that everything on their powerless is great, because at the end of the day, you have a 365 page book at the end of the year on what you did and why and how it worked. And you can track that to other metrics, like, dollars earned or whatever you want to do that you're measuring to make those work. So I think that's fantastic. I mean, if you can do it in sports, why wouldn't you do it in business? Maybe that's why athletes make such great businessmen.
Well, some, but there's multiple levels to that, right? So there were people that were just so good, they didn't have to study, right? And then there were people that were so good and they became a professional. And they figured out that what it took to be a great basketball player, what it took to be a great football player, golfer, tennis player, whatever, it translates every part of your life. And once you recognize that if you make the process your life, you can dominate in whatever you choose. But most people think that it's just their gift to hit a baseball 450 feet, throw a fastball 98 miles per hour, hit a golf ball 360 yards. Oh, that's just my gift. No, it's not. you've built a process around that situation to get to that good. Mm-hmm. And when you refine your craft to the point of being a professional, that process runs the world. And your job is to identify the process. Nick Saban says it takes what it takes. There aren't many ways. Mm-hmm. There's not one way. There's more than one way, but there aren't many ways to be great.
Yep.
Your job is to figure out what way is great for you and then run with it and apply it to all parts of your life.
And both your podcasts, which by the way, I've been a guest on The Virg. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for coming on too, because it was very well listened to, and I love the fact that I get a chance to ask somebody who's been so successful like yourself to regurgitate your process so that people can hear that you're not doing something that they can't do. You're just applying it. And I want people to recognize, I believe our society is radically underperforming. And I'm trying to be that rising tide that raises all boats.
That's cool. That's
and
right.
Your story is so critical to the success of my podcast because your roadmap is different, but similar.
That's right.
To all greatness. And people can be like, "Ooh, I can do that."
Yeah.
But some people have talents that they can't do. So they can't resonate to Vince Gill playing guitar.
Yeah.
But how did Vince Gill get that good?
That's right.
I can do that.
That's right.
And that's the most important part to me, is that when I get a chance to share greatness, I'm trying to hoist it upon the people. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, Nick played professional baseball. Yes, he's an entrepreneur and he's got massive success in a variety of areas. But listen to the process that he's doing. It's not because he's Nick Hyder. Mm-hmm. It's because of the process that he's applying every day.
Right.
Now, cherry pick them. Put 2 of them in. Then put another one in when you got those 2 good.
Right.
Put another one after you got 3. And next thing you know, what do you got? You got a hit streak.
That's right. Amen to that. Well, it's a really good podcast. You've had killer people on it. I was blown away with the quantity of episodes, dude. We've been doing this for a minute, releasing 1 episode a week, like clockwork. We're approaching episode 100, which is a big milestone here soon. I'm really excited about that. But dude, you're hundreds and hundreds of episodes in. It's fantastic.
Well, I thank you. And it's really, I started it to elevate others. And really what ended up happening is I elevated myself.
That's right.
It's the greatest gift I've given myself while not even thinking that it was going to be for me.
That's exactly right. I feel the exact same way.
And to me, I don't get a chance to be interviewed often. Right. I do a lot of interviewing. So this is fun because I get to be on the other side. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's the greatest thing that I've put into my life by accident, because I was really just trying to say, what can I do to make Nick's career, businesses better? What can I elevate for him? And while I'm asking you what I can do to elevate you, you shared the gems that have gotten you to where you are. And I'm like, oh man, I'll pinch a little bit of off my front pocket.
Oh, I've learned from every single person I've brought in here. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's the greatest. It's my favorite thing. If I could figure out how to make the amount of money that I make teaching golf, doing podcasts, I'd stop teaching golf.
I don't disagree with that. That's actually when I started this, and I tell people all the time, I say it every day, this is the sharpest tool in my tool belt by far.
Yeah.
And I love doing it. I love shooting every episode. It's such a blast and so much fun. And it's a lot of work. It's not easy. No, it's a whole job. There's a whole amazing team full of great people that are behind this thing, that make this thing what it is, on top of the guests. But dude, it's the gift that keeps on giving, but not just to everybody else, but also it gives back to us too.
It's better than the Jelly of the Month Club.
I agree. All right. So, and you got a great website, and obviously if they want to check out the books, that's a great place that's a one-stop shop to basically be able to do anything, right? So if wanted to contact you about any type of lessons, folks, even if golf isn't something that you're you're not trying to make money doing it, but you just want to get better, when you're hanging out with somebody like that, to that magnitude, and you are analyzing so many things about yourself. There's so much of the mental aspect that you get when you work with a guy like Virgil in a golf lesson that you can apply to all other areas of your life, not just golf. So it's golf lessons and golf coaching, but it's a lot of life coaching as well, right?
That's right. And I think People talk about the awards, right? And people say, what's the best award? And I show them my box of thank you cards.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? These are the real awards. It's like a person who went to college, played golf, didn't make the tour, uses golf in business, uses the game to create more business. And I tell all of these kids, I said, there's a really good chance that you'll make more money using golf for business than you would if you played on TV.
Right.
And
I agree. There's been a whole lot of great deals made on the golf course.
That's exactly right. So they don't believe me, right? Then you get to be about 28, 29, and they're +2 handicap because they played golf at Western Kentucky, right? Now they're invited to all of the big events. Now when they're invited to all the big events, somebody's CEO is there, and they get very impressed because golf has a level of impression because to be good at it, you know that this person's put the work in.
That's right.
And because if you put the work in, that tells me that you can put the work in anywhere. And now they want to use you for something, not use you in a negative way, but like, this guy has the potential to do something. And you always find yourself in a great place. And why golf is so powerful is because there's hardly anything left in the world where 5 hours of time can be spent with somebody while having a great time. So when golf is used properly, you can use it for massive success because you get an immersion of time. And like you said, time is the most valuable asset we have.
Yeah.
So to be able to have that kind of time with important people in the business world, it becomes powerful. When I get those thank you cards from kids that I don't even teach anymore. I mean, I have some that every time I read them, I cry because I just remember the moment when I told them the story.
That's right.
And it was like, I always say it's like an information grenade. I pull the pin and throw it, but I don't know when it's going to go off.
I like that too. Well, man, so first of all, folks, I mentioned that I was on an episode of On The Virg when we talked this morning pre-production before we started shooting the show. Part of what we're talking about today, I feel like, is a lot in addition to what we talked about on yours. So you got to listen to both of them. You got to check both of them out.
That's right. I didn't, because this is the first time I've done that. Right. So I'm thinking to myself, what just happened is that you told your story and I told my story. They have massive similarities with significant differences. And when you see the dichotomy of success in the stories, but when you really keep track of the pinpoint questions that are asked by each one of us, you get the roadmap.
That's right.
And the job is it's not the destination. It's the journey. And that roadmap that you provide for your story and I provide for my story, it's just like this vague journey that I'm asking people to go on, not for me or not for you, for themselves. And greatness occurs. But most people are afraid to do the first thing, which is take action.
That's right. That's right. Action over everything.
That's right.
Well, we talked. I think we talked about it on your podcast about, how does anybody that That's one of the very most common questions I get asked from business is, how do you get sales guys out of sales slumps? I'm like, it's the same way a golfer gets out of a slump or a baseball player. You swing your way out.
Yep.
Right? You're not going to come out of it by stopping swinging, right?
That's right.
You swing your way out. So if a sales guy's in a slump and can't close any deals, make more offers, right? Make more offers. Go to more sales appointments.
That's right.
Because when you get one, you're out of the slump.
That's exactly right. We hear about PGA Tour players that can't break through for that win. What's the key? You just keep on putting yourself in contention. You got to keep contending. You got to keep putting your face in there. And sometimes the greatest yes comes from a no.
Heck yeah.
Heck
yeah.
You got to be able to fight through the no. It takes 8 no's to get a yes. And it's hard. Rejection is hard for most people. But if you don't take it personal, like learning how to hear no and it not no because you are terrible. It's no because right now I can't see what you're selling me.
Right.
So you just keep going until that no becomes a yes. Because if you sell your product correctly and you're doing something to actually help somebody,
right,
more times than not, they can't see the value yet. And it's your job to find why. And if you can figure those things out, that's how you become successful. And that's no different than becoming a great hitter, a great golfer, a great entrepreneur. You didn't become great because you woke up one day and said, I'm going to be great. No, you got dirty. You got in the mess, you got in the war, and you fought it out, and you figured out how to do it.
Man, I tell you what, because I had so many things that I wanted to cover on this, and the one thing I know is there's going to be, we got to do a volume 3. But here's what I would propose: like, I want to get you, Andrew, in here. That's one of my favorite things to do, is have 2 people with me in here.
Well, we would love that.
Oh man, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be something that would be really special for me, because I don't know if he is celebrated enough.
He's not. There's no way. That dude, outside of the trick shots, those got celebrated really well. But I told him on the episode, what stood out to me was not the shot that he made. It was how there was dozens, if not over 100 kids or more going nuts when he hit that. It was like they had all won the lottery, dude. It was unbelievable.
Yep.
Those shots don't happen quickly. They take a lot of attempts. So all those kids had to be bought in and to be there for that whole time, all the misses that happened along the way. I just thought that was absolutely incredible. I've never seen that before. And
he has the ability to keep them engaged for that long because they believe in the greatness that he delivers. That's the thing that he brings. And he kind of divulged. Sometimes he has a hard time believing.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, hey man, you can do this job. Because I was one of the people that I spent a lot of time talking with him about the transition from basketball coach to business coach.
Yep.
And how I know is basketball. I said, dude, you're way more than basketball.
Yep.
The difference is just who you're talking to.
Oh yeah.
The same goals and the same morals and the same belief and the same work ethic that it takes to get these 17 and 18-year-old kids to dominate on the basketball court is the exact same things you need to do in the boardroom to get people to do everything that's required to take that company to the next level. You are wired for this, man. You are not just basketball. I am not just golf. You are not just baseball, man.
That's right.
You're a person who has a belief that you can do something. And for people that haven't had that yet, it's infectious. Go spread the infection, man.
Well, dude, we got to. I'm gonna put that in motion today, and I hope we can do it later this maybe in the third quarter. That'd be fantastic.
That'd be so cool.
It'd be really neat, and a lot of these things we've been talking about, you're doing today, or that you're doing soon, will be in the rearview mirror, and we can talk about those some more. I mean, Virgil, there was so many things. That's why we got to have a volume 3, because there's so many things that I'm just not going to be able to get to, because honestly, the first 30 minutes with the mindset portion was just dynamite. Probably some of the best footage we've shot in here on the show. It's fantastic. So I'm gonna turn it over to you for a second. So first of all, there was something that we had talked about back there that I do want to make sure we get to, and it was about the coaches or the baseball instructors. We were comparing them to golf. I can't remember exactly where we left it off.
Well, you were mentioning that you haven't seen baseball players transition to coaching and make the kind of money or have the financial success that happens in golf.
And because they were great players, so the level of coaching, is going to be, it should be good.
That's right.
It should be good, but they can't make the money they made as a player.
That's right. So no, that's a little different. And like how I view this question, that's shifted just a shade, right?
Okay.
So when you're Aaron Judge, right, you're going to make about $65 million this year because you hit 65 home runs last year.
Right. And
you're a beast. So you're probably not going to make $65 million teaching people how to hit.
Right.
Tiger Woods is making like $188 million to $225 million in his prime. He's not going to make that teaching golf.
Right.
Right. But take a good friend of mine, his name's Stan Utley. He's won one time on the PGA Tour, played on the tour for like 17 years. But he didn't make a ton of money out there.
Right.
But he's one of the greatest short game coaches in the world. Now, here's the difference. There's a level of ego and value put into golf that is not put into baseball. Mainly because when you're done playing baseball, there's really no, hey, let's go out, let's grab 18 guys and let's go out and play a game of baseball.
Right.
Right? But in golf lasts forever.
That's right.
Right? And then you're 50 years old and you spent the last 25 years building your business, and now you're super successful and you're a member of a private club, and now you see, I'd really like to get good at golf.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we know how much that matters to you. We know the value of that. So when somebody knows how to get you there, they're willing to pay for that. Baseball has a time end. Basketball has a time end. Football has an even shorter time end. Golf doesn't. And even tennis doesn't.
That's right.
Right?
And now pickleball.
And pickleball, yeah. So to me, the difference is that golf is an expensive sport, probably only behind skiing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's already an intrinsic value attached to what the game means.
Right.
Then there's ego attached to it. And then you also have people at the era of their life where they have the most amount of money able to spend it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. And one of the most important things that I will be trying to tell anybody who's trying to coach anything is to focus on youth.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay? Because I can tell you, for me, I'll eat ramen noodles to make sure that my kids have the best that they can have.
Amen. That's right.
Parents will do anything to make sure their kids have the best life they can have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get dreamers with talent better, you're going to make it.
Well, what, as we bring this sucker to a close, is there anything that we should have covered that you wanted to cover today that we didn't?
Man, we covered my hot spots, man. Most people, like I said, believe I'm a technical golf coach. I'm not a technical golf coach. I'm a concept coach. I believe, I know that for people to learn, they have to see pictures, not hear mechanics. And
Wow, that's good.
You gave me the opportunity today to show who I am. And that's the greatest gift that anybody could ever ask.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be asked to answer questions. So you've done the greatest job of allowing me to be me, to show people that I'm not just a golf teacher, that I'm not just a podcaster, I'm not just an author, I'm not just a businessman. I'm somebody that cares deeply about elevating everybody to see how great we can all be. Because if we all chased greatness instead of complacency or average or even less than that, who knows where we could go. And if there's ever been a time in our lifetime to step up and elevate, it is right stinking now. And it makes me so sad on so many fronts. And that's my mission. I use golf as my main vehicle, but my podcast is catching up and my books are catching up to that because I want to see more people succeed than there are.
I love it. I love it. Folks, if you're not tuning in to either of those podcasts, I highly recommend you do. One's called Elevated and the other one is called On The Virg. And you can get to all this on virgilherring.com. Also, the 3 books, The Golf Journal, #1, Elevated #2, and Excavated #3. And a lot of those things we mentioned have a little bit of dramatic sprinkled on them, which is always a good ingredient.
That's a great ingredient right there.
And he is on his way in the very distant future to his first TEDx talk. Dude, that's awesome, man.
Super excited for that. Lifetime, once again, be careful what you ask for, right? I saw a TEDx, John Wooden, a long time ago, did a TEDx. And I'm like, I'm going to do that one day.
Dude, it's been my buddy Marcus Whitney did one, and that's been a bucket list thing of mine for a long time, and I will get there, right? We're going to do that. It was when we started this podcast. It was like I saw people's like I'm hearing podcasts on Sirius XM, and I'm like, I want mine there, right? You know, and so now we're developing relationships with Sirius XM on other things because now they know that we have a podcast and it's on their radar and stuff. You just never know, man, and it's all about relationships.
You got to put it out in the universe, man.
That's right. That is right. Well, dude, is there anything else before we, as we bring it to a close? Any final notes you want to leave everybody with?
Man, I'm just unbelievably grateful to share this space with you. It's been great to get to know you, and I love success, and I love to see people succeed. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my story, and I'm looking forward to having you back on mine and having one with me and one with Drew. And there's not enough out there.
I agree.
Right. So we'll just keep on delivering goodness.
I agree. Well, folks, once again, special thanks to the man, Virgil Herring, the PGA Professional, podcaster, author, keynote speaker, soon to be TEDx keynote speaker. That's cool, man. That's cool.
I'm super fired up.
I love it. And you can keep up with him on social, on Instagram at virgil.herring and on the web at virgilherring.com, right?
That's right.
So, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to yet another episode of The Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.